One of my favorite artists just released an album a little bit ago called Wishbone, and I just wanted to talk about it a little bit because I really like it. The general theme of the album is he got a wishbone, and what Conan was especially interested in about it was it's the only wishing ritual that takes two people to do. Like blowing out a candle, that's one person. Throwing a penny in a well, that's one person. But when you take a wishbone, it's two people grabbing on one side of the wishbone and pulling it, already expecting that one person will get their wish and the other person won't. And they're still willing to bet that even though one person will end up with that shorter end. And that's kind of like the main theme of the album, where I'm assuming he feels like he's at least relating it to relationships as well, where usually when most of them break, like a wishbone, one person ends up with that short end of the stick and kind of gets or feels like they're not doing as well as the other person is. It's got 12 songs on it, and they're much longer than he has put out in the past. Usually they've been like a mix of long songs, maybe some are shorter, but most of the songs on the album are rather long. The album as a whole is about 43 minutes long, and coming off of his last album, which was 13 minutes long, 13 songs long, and it was about, I want to say 36 minutes in length. That album was very different to this one, to Wishbone. Wishbone is completely different. At least I feel he doesn't usually, or he hasn't in the past, done very production heavy songs. He usually will do a lot of lower, kind of tamer songs and soft ones. And Found Heaven was a huge twist on that because he did like a 80s pop kind of album. And I thought it was good. I don't think his audience was the right target for that though, so it didn't really take off super great, but Wishbone kind of extends to that audience a little bit more. It's a very personal album. He speaks a lot about how the album is kind of something he's always wanted to make but been too scared of doing, and kind of saying the things that people are thinking but they're too scared to say almost. Like the first track on the album is called Actor. It's actually one of my favorites. It's a really grand song, but it's about kind of like feeling the other person in the relationship is almost pretending like nothing is happening. Or not even, it's kind of like you go from a friendship sort of thing, and that friend is kind of acting like nothing is truly happening between the two of you, and they're the better actor than you are. The drums in the song, there's a lot of songs on the album that actually incorporate percussion a lot more than his songs in the past have, and that seems to be kind of like a stepping out where it might have been something he's always wanted to do, and now that he's pushing himself to allow that, it's coming out a little bit more almost. And then he follows that song up immediately with a song called This Song, which was actually the first pre-release of the album. It's kind of like a love song, like right at the tip of a crush almost, right before you get into that love itself. And it was a completely a bait song, kind of trying to throw people off that the album would be more love influenced, but truly it wasn't, because as I said before, he got that short end, and it's a very warm song. It was definitely intended to be released at the beginning of the summer, and that's what we see happen. The vocals are really interesting in the song. He's kind of layering it in a way that it almost feels different. I'm not sure how to explain it, but it's like thicker vocals, and it's completely different from all the other songs on the album in a way. One song I didn't really care about the vocals for was Vodka Cranberry. For some reason, I feel like the mixing is a little odd, and it feels almost a little thin. Maybe it was because this was the second pre-release song, and this song was very different. This song, not this song, but this song, this song had different mixing to Vodka Cranberry, it almost felt like. And it felt very, scratchy and thin. So I didn't care for that at first, but the bridge and the high note obviously are really interesting, and that's totally a highlight. What's fun about the bridge in My World is it's almost kind of like conversational, or like you're talking to someone and kind of complaining about that other person, and it all drags together and really combines for kind of a fun listen, and it's produced really well. His vocal performance on it is really fun, and I think, for me, I didn't really care for the other parts of that song, but that bridge definitely elevates it, if you will. Another one that I really didn't care for at first was Class Clown, but, I feel like for a lot of songs, you have to hear it a few times to really resonate with it. And I feel like that was one of them. I do wish there was a little bit more stuff kind of like Nauseous on the album, where it starts kind of soft. You got little guitar and piano in the beginning with just a little small, softer snare. And I wish that kind of carried out throughout the rest of the song, just as kind of almost like a break from all that loud and fun pop songs, which is kind of like what he had before with his other music. So I personally didn't like that it wasn't all soft through the album or through the song, but it is growing on me with how the chorus hits you so much, where it really kind of it blends in and comes in so sharp almost. It really makes you nauseous, if you will. Connell is kind of like Nauseous as well, where it starts softer and it builds into something. And for this one, it's not like it's a big crash or starts picking up very loudly. It kind of comes in almost in reverse, if you will, where it's building to something, but it doesn't feel, how do I put this? It doesn't make you happy. Like, it's a very condensing build-up, which makes sense for how it's suffocating. That's what I'm trying to say. The final chorus is very suffocating. It drags you in there. And I think that's really cool because it's a brutal song at its core. He's comparing his ex to a character from, I think it's a movie called Normal People. And in the movie, Connell is very, very poor at expressing his emotions and being honest with people. And Conan's comparing that ex to Connell, that he's basically saying this ex was never good at expressing those emotions, and that really suffocated him and dragged him down. I feel like a lot of the final choruses on the album are really well structured and very thought out. Like for Sunset Tower, the ad-libs in it at the very end of the song were structured in a way that they are almost a sentence going through each one all the way down, and then they repeat again, which is something I've totally seen people do before, but you don't see that a whole lot anymore. Conan's really good at ending albums, I've seen, and for me, I go back and forth about Care being a good one. I like the song, I like its lyrics, but right now, sonically, it's not my favorite, but I think like Class Clown, it'll totally grow on me. I just need to kind of live with it more, because as I'm recording this, I've had listened to the album maybe only 36 hours so far. Well, that sounds like a lot, but I've only had the album came out 36 hours ago or so. So I really haven't lived with it well to appreciate it, if you will. I feel like that could come from a lot of his songs at the end usually aren't super duper upbeat, with the maybe only exception of being The Exit. But even then, that one's not very upbeat. Care's a little upbeat, but he's not like a ton. The thing I find interesting about the album is it's very well placed for when it's releasing. What's interesting is that the album feels like summer ending, so it makes sense to release in the middle of August. It really feels like you're coming off of something that was great, and now you're condensing it into something that is fading away, and it's becoming something new. Like the wishbone is broken, you're broken, and it's almost time for something new to start, but you're still clinging on to what there was. I did have to go out yesterday and buy the album. I wanted to get the Target version because I like that cover best, as well as I was very specific about the vinyl color itself being blue. I really didn't want to buy a album or a vinyl that wasn't blue, so I wasn't particularly interested in getting the silver one or the red one. I've thought about getting the black one now, just so I can own the original cover of the album as well, but I'm not sure if I will. My thing about the original cover is it reminds me of that one like a homeless ant. It looks like that, where he's got the little thing swung over his shoulder, and unfortunately that's just what I see every time I look at it. I don't see it nearly as much anymore, but when it first was shown, that's the only thing I could think of. And because of that, I was so inclined to get an album variant without that original cover on it. I think that the Target one expresses the meaning of the album very well as well, in the sense that it's a dream. Conan's wishing for an ideal relationship, and he just can't quite reach it, and he's dreaming for that to happen, but the crow, which is represented for him because he's more like a crow, he feels, and that crow is bringing him the wishbone almost to remind him that he still has to engage in this two-person thing and take a risk, and that risk could end up well and it could end up bad, and for the album it ended up bad, just how it is. But anyways, I don't know if you guys have heard this album. I'd recommend it if you haven't. My top 3 of the album currently, in no order, is probably Actor, maybe Caramel, and I'll say this song. Yeah, I think that's good. Actor, Caramel, and this song. Those are my top 3 for the moment, but it'll totally change, I'm sure. I think what's different about at least his music compared to, your average pop song is it's very situational and specific to events, and you kind of have to live with that music for a little bit to kind of feel it or resonate more to it. Whereas, not every song is super specific, but you can still feel different things change about that, and that can lead you to be more inclined to different songs than the other ones. Well, anyways, thanks for watching. Bye, 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 bye.